Wrestling is all about believing in what you're seeing. Deep down we know it's all a ruse, but that's not the point. We suspend our disbelief to enjoy the whole thing. That, however, is a two-way street. As hard as we will try to buy in, WWE also has to be holding up its end of the bargain, allowing to make that as easy as possible. That's why solid storylines, real-to-life characters and continuity are so important. They're the building blocks needed to make all this madness feel like it's actually happening. As you've already figured out or know already, this is not always the case, and sometimes we're presented with certain things that flat out spit in the face of it. May as well have a giant sign that says wrestling is fake when the bottom falls out. It's like a slap in the gums, and we're the fools for trying to pretend. I'm Simon from WhatCulture, and this is 10 WWE things that are impossible to believe in. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to stay notified. Ding, ding, done. Number 10, commentary. A long-sighted area that fans aren't too high on, commentary in the modern day is not as convincing or believable as it once was. Aside from the sheer amount of social media and buzz the team these days has to work in, they're also following up from Jim Ross and Jerry the King Lawler, a duo that were genuinely awesome. JR especially made you think he believed everything he was seeing was legit, and that helped you do the same. I know this was years ago too, but that's how good they were, and it continues to shadow over WWE today. I'm not saying it's Michael Cole's fault either. He has a completely different job to do in 2018, and one thing missing from that list is selling the match. We all want that, sure, but it's hard to get on his case when that's not part of his job description. It mainly just comes across as a little robotic, or more video game than Attitude Era, but I really do think this is a remit from backstage. Remember those occasions where Cole wasn't shackled by orders from over his headset? We all enjoyed what he put out there. It doesn't mean that what we do get every Monday is where it should be, and yeah, sometimes it really does water down what's happening, but what can we do? I'd love a bit more passion and drive in my commentary. If WWE disagrees, they're in a far better position to follow their own plans through. It is strange, given that it's one of the first things fans see or hear. Initial impressions count for everything. Number 9, finishes. We've talked about this before, but the problem has become so out of control, it's always worth going back to it time and time again. Even though the clue is in the name, WWE has absolutely fallen into a pattern where finishing moves don't finish matches. That's a paradox in itself, but we've now got to the point that we even expect the last second dramatic kick out after a big maneuver, which ruins the idea anyway. You're not going to get that huge shocked reaction from the crowd when we see an AA and instantly think, well, he's not going to lose after that. Not only does it ruin the tension, but it's now conditioned the fans to ignore most of the match until they've seen at least one finisher because we know nothing will happen until we get to this point. It's filler beforehand. The shock victory has been lost to the abyss. It also means you stop taking these things seriously. Sure, The Miz has the skull-crushing finale, which sounds cool, but it's never responsible for the finale. How are you meant to process that or believe in it as something devastating? There's ways and means to do this, and of course, when WWE began it during WrestleMania matches back in the day, it worked wonderfully, but that's because we weren't expecting The Rock to escape the Stone Cold Stunner. Today, we do, and that has to be balanced back out so we can start enjoying the layout again. Otherwise, just a case of sitting around until it's clear we're in the last 5 minutes. Number 8, the matchmaking process. Aside from it following a very strict pattern that does start to get long in the tooth, because everything does when you do it over and over again, the matchmaking process in WWE is also kinda silly when you think about it. Take Kevin Owens. Most weeks on Raw, he accidentally gets himself put in bouts, be that because he said the wrong thing to the wrong person, or he interfered in a match that had nothing to do with him, which then causes him to get thrown in the deep end. During both of these, Owens will then freak out that he has to wrestle, even though he's a wrestler. What does that even mean? If he's so scared of the roster or actually getting physical, why on earth has he chosen this profession to begin with? Also, if, say, a Kurt Angle does do this last minute, what was his actual plans beforehand? Just 10 minutes of nothing? Silence? Death? And I get that's picking at straws, but it's usually when these plot holes are filled that the product starts to feel better and more believable. You can't find such gaps because none exist. Really, doing this just highlights how scripted wrestling is, and again, yes, it is scripted, so what's the problem? That doesn't mean we can't try. Trying is really important, otherwise we all may as well get in the ground. Number 7, the women's revolution. I don't think WWE are pretending to care about women's wrestling. They definitely have realised how important it is, and over the last few years we've come a long way. And this was a must. Just go and watch anything from the Attitude Era onwards. Oh my gosh. The issue though is that as good as this is, WWE also likes the whole PR around it and sometimes focuses too much on that as opposed to how they're actually booking a group of talented performers. For example, we all know why the company did the Greatest Royal Rumble, but the fact it meant every single female had to be left at home is troubling at best and really a bit contradictory. Both Raw and SmackDown also have a tendency to continually have women's segments too. So rather than just highlight certain females or build stories, an hour into the show is where they'll feature as many women as they can, can before they move on. We don't do that with the guys, so why do it here? Just treat them all as wrestlers. Take it from there. Number 6, promos. Samoa Joe, with his intense, menacing delivery, is a damn good promo. He can take whatever you give him and make it sound real, which is half the battle. No matter what he does say, I think he means it. People like The Miz remain good value too, but mostly these are becoming few and far between. The real problem, of course, is that they're scripted, which takes away any personality a wrestler could inject into it, but it also requires some people to act in a way they wouldn't usually do. And we know what we get then. Also, baby faces are usually portrayed as idiots saying dumb things, which also never works. It's not cut and dry for everyone. Daniel Bryan and Seth Rollins tend to buck the trend, but take someone like Finn Balor, who is clearly told to just smile the entire time. Sometimes, that's really weird. It also can't be easy given they have actual verbiage to learn. So not only are you trying to perform it, you're also in your own head thinking, what do I say next? That is hard. Sometimes it should be alright just to open up as you feel. Look at Scott Steiner. Granted, he took it too far, but when he was done, we all thought he was ready to murder some fool. Need to take it back a touch? Ric Flair, and again, he was the best, but you can still use him as an example. Give everyone something to aim for. Number 5, wins and losses. Aside from 50-50 booking, which we talk about all the time, it's the fact wins and losses don't seem to matter, which is another problem. Take Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 34. He lost clean to Brock Lesnar, and then come the Greatest Royal Rumble, he had a rematch for no actual reason. There was no story, no concept, he just got one, because why not? If this had happened in the UFC, for example, whoever got beat would go to the back of the queue. The knock-on effect from this is that we as fans stop taking wins and losses seriously, and then why are we even watching? There has to be some consequence or importance put on what happens in the ring, otherwise we may as well have dance competitions every week. And we do not want that. As the title of this video suggests, you have to believe, and that starts with the sport aspect of the product. If you tell me it's pointless, then that's how I react to it. Number 4, the performance. When you get to the WWE, you don't have to be the best wrestler to get a job. There's so much to being successful there that the actual wrestling can be the third best thing you do, and that's okay. You're an entertainer, so just find a way to entertain. A lot of fans, however, believe that this doesn't always add up in the sense you have to have some basic ring skill, otherwise the believability dies as soon as someone gets in the ring. Now, personally, I don't agree with this entirely, as you've got to give people a chance, but there are current individuals on the WWE roster that are struggling to get the wrestling part down, and that harms the matches we see. Potentially a case of bringing talent up too soon and putting them in difficult spots. At the moment, individuals are sinking before they can swim. When you hit the rock bottom of the pool, that's it. It's hard to climb back out. It's a balancing act at the best of times, but if you do want to buy into someone wrestling and then they can't wrestle, well, I don't think I need to say anything else. That sums it up. Number 3, championships. Straight up, WWE titles don't mean as much as they once did. A case of just not being protected all that well, compare the Universal Championship to New Japan's heavyweight gold. It's like night and day. Ultimately, everyone on the roster should be after a shiny belt, but we never get that. Sometimes you can have someone as the champ, and they don't even talk about what's over their shoulder. It's just there, and basically a prop. This is not good. This can be summed up mostly at the moment with Raw's world title, which hasn't appeared on the show in months as we say these words. It doesn't even get mentioned, so any importance it may have had is flushed down the toilet. The WWE title is in far better shape, but still not once what it was. Remember how much they mattered back in the old days? It probably doesn't help we have 2 world championships, because that's just dumb, especially if you're a new viewer. How do you explain that? We just got 2 people that are the best of the best in WWE, you better deal with it. Thankfully, all this can be fixed with a few smart months of booking. Whether we get that or not, I don't know, and this goes for all the belts too. Think of the Raw tag team titles. They just float through the world as if they don't exist, even though they do. Number 2, the first match. Now what I mean here is when we're starting a major program. While I understand why we do it, WWE is in a pattern where the opening contest in a feud almost doesn't matter because it hardly holds any weight or ever has a conclusive end. Again, yeah, there's got to be a reason for it to continue, but that does make it hard to believe as a contest when you know that however it ends, it's only been done that way to get to match 2, and then match 2 will exist to get to match 3, and so on. Think Nakamura Styles at the Greatest Royal Rumble. It was there because it needed to be there. Rivalries are stretched out to fill TV time. It's kind of what happened in every Bray Wyatt feud, which he winds up losing, and it can water down performers as you struggle to care about what they do. Imagine the Eater of Worlds had smashed someone up when they first met and then just left it. Don't need your stress no more. I beat you. Would have done so much good, but went the other way instead and ran it into the ground. It means by the time we get to the blow-off, the intrigue has all but died because we've seen it all too much. Number 1, pushes. In 2018, no one really gets pushed anymore. WWE has its stars, sure, but unlike 20 or so years ago where someone would get a rocket strapped to their back, now it's more like a hang hang glider as performance go up and down on a whim. Even Roman Reigns isn't given complete protection. Again, look at WrestleMania 34. Ain't no one doing that to Steve Austin in the late 90s. He was being pushed come hell or high water. There's plenty of evidence of this throughout the roster too. Finn Balor, for example. He was a main event guide for all of 1 second, then he went back to the mid-card, and now he just is whatever he is. Another dude. There's other names we can throw in here as well, and even when someone comes in hot, it seems like it's just a matter of time before they take a step back. Kevin Owens beat John Cena clean on night 1. He should be at the top of the card all the time. He is not. Really, WWE just takes away the magic some performers have. Bobby Roode and Bobby Lashley felt like part of the scenery far quicker than they should have done, and everyone seems to be in the same position, existing in the middle, waiting to see what's going to be needed of them the following week. Sometimes you just gotta pick a guy and go with it. Doesn't work out, that's when you try again. Doing it the way we are, that just makes things difficult.
Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe below, and if you're looking for more content like this, then try a few things that are floating about around my ears. Might be fun. I can't promise it though, but it might be.